Whoa.
してですか?
That's another good CG right there.
少なくともこれでこの村に平和が戻るよ。
Even though the minister promised to use his considerable influence to cancel the project, it would probably take more than a few months before it would be completely scrapped. At the very least, it would probably take 1 or 2 years. For the villagers to officially hear that their village wasn't going to be submerged at the bottom of a dam was still a ways away. But it was no mistake that the promise of peace returning to the village was there. It turned out, from beginning to end, that it had already been decided. Just as the girl had said, it was decided. There wasn't really a need for me to come here in the first place. There was absolutely no need for me to have come here and aggravate an unpleasant situation. If I had never come here, then the grandson's release might have been done in a more amicable manner.
平和がこの村に?
When I nodded, she laughed as if to admonish me. But her face remained indifferent, expressionless. Ooh, that might be an even better one, though. And then her eyes narrowed slightly as she snickered.
これから毎年血生臭いことが起きるのに。
リカちゃん、何の話だい?
As the wind blew her hair about, the girl, as if taking pleasure in that I was the only one who didn't know, continued to snicker as she looked at my face for a while.
私ね、あと何年かすると殺されるの。
Well, that's grim, huh? Backlit by the moon, it was hard to tell if her expression that had been cast in the shadow was smiling, amused, or resigned.
リカちゃんがどうして?
とても不愉快なことだけど、それも多分決ま
っているって、誰がそんなことを決めるんだい?
それを私も知りたいの。
Turning back to face me, she showed me a resolute expression for the first time. And after staring into my eyes for a moment, she turned back to gaze at the scenery before she spoke her next words.
ここは人の命を何とも思わない連中でいっぱいです。これを伝えても何も変わらないかもしれないけど、でも死という月を映す水面をかき消すためなら小石を投じることもあるかもしれない。
I had no idea what she was trying to say. It's just, I had to listen to every word with my body and soul. Or at least, that's what I thought.
来年の今日、そう。昭和54年の6月の今日、ダム現場の監督が殺されます。
For a moment, I couldn't comprehend what she was talking about. By the foreman, did she mean that gruff old man I played mahjong with?
殺されるって、どうして?
She didn't answer. But she had the same expression on her face as she did when she declared that dam project would go away. That wasn't the face of somebody making a forecast or a prediction. It was something that was already decided. No, it was as if she was already reporting the results. That sort of expression.
恐ろしい殺され方をした後、体中をバラバラに引き裂かれて捨てられてしまいます。
I see someone's been playing a bit too much Higurashi.
バラバラ殺人。
その翌年の昭和55年の6月の今日、聡子の両親が突き落とされて死にます。
Who said Toko? It was the first time I'd heard that name, but I didn't have the courage to interrupt the girl's story.
あるいは不幸な事故。
The girl smiled faintly, but she wasn't exactly encouraging me to smile along with the lifeless look in her eyes.
そしてさらにその翌年の昭和56年の6月の今日、私の両親が殺されます。そしてさらに翌年の昭和57年の6月の今日、聡子の意地悪おばが頭を割られ
Who's
て
this
死にま
Satoko
す。
person?
そしてさらに翌年の昭和58年の6月のあるいはその数日後か、私が殺されます。すべての死が予定調和なら、最後の死もまた予定のうちなのでしょうか。でもならばこれは一体誰の予定なの？
This village is full of murderers and people who have no regard for human life. It would be fine to believe that all the deaths up to 1982 would be the work of somebody in the village. It would be fine to believe that all the deaths that would occur were at the discretion of those who control the village. But that didn't explain what would happen in 1983. There was no way that the last death would fit with anybody's plans. They had no regard for human life. They would use every means at their disposal to meet their goals. But their goals were at odds with the last death. That's why the last death was unrelated to them. But that last death would definitely, most likely, probably, without question, happen. Probably, definitely, I dare say. The last death would be a merciful one. A handkerchief or something being placed over their mouth, making them lose consciousness, never to wake up again. Exactly whose plan was that?
私は幸せに生きたい。望みはそれだけ。大好きな友人たちに囲まれて、それだけなの。それ以上の何も望んでいないの。
リカちゃん。
死にたくない。
Dang it. The girl, stoic as ever, let those last words slip in the end. Eventually, we were discovered by some drunks. The girl, as well as I, were dragged back to the festivities. Everyone was completely drunk, so even when they saw my head completely wrapped in bandages, they wouldn't let me leave. Well, certainly if I was in a good enough condition to slip out of the hospital. It must not be that serious. The girl was mingling with everybody, being pampered like a kitten. Her expression was adorable, nothing like the one from just before. Predicting her own death and whispering that she didn't want to die. Having said that, having a silly and lively conversation like this, it was hard to believe that these people were the core of an extremist resistance group. Even if it was a shell of its former self, it was a festival where people in the village gathered. So 20-some-odd folk here should have included some of the village executives and other important members. Among those, there was no doubt that there were members that were at the Sonozaki family council in attendance. Meaning, even if we never met face-to-face before, there were people here who knew my identity. In a small village like this, they knew the faces of all the villagers that lived here. That's why, without even saying anything, it soon became obvious that I was an outsider. But they actually seemed interested by that, asking me all sorts of questions about Tokyo. Drinking while musing on the faint relationship the city had with the villagers, and emphasizing with the rather meager environment. The confidential talks of the minister were finished. His grandson was in police custody. Everything was over. I might not have to be put in another perilous situation. To me, they were only my adversaries because of my job. Outside of that, there was no reason I couldn't be friendly with them. The next time I visited this village, would it return to being a tranquil and beautiful place. If that happened, I might be able to take a relaxed walk around the village with her again. My cup was once again filled to the brim with beer. By the time I was able to get away, it was the middle of the night. The girl had at some point disappeared. It seems that her parents had told her to go home and sleep when she let out a large yawn. The old folks, who had absolutely no remorse for making an injured person hang out with them, told me as much as they laughed. I was just there drinking, so I had thought to help a bit with cleanup. However, my help was refused on the grounds that I was a guest. On top of that, they had a car prepared to take me back to the hospital. Losing the battle against my sleepiness inside the car, I was sound asleep until we reached the parking lot of the hospital. The front door of the hospital was naturally locked at this hour. I wandered around bewilderedly searching for a back entrance, until somebody on night duty found out and let me inside.
こんな時間までどちらへ？入江先生も心配してましたよ。
ご迷惑をおかけしました。神社でお祭りの人たちに引き止められまして。
ああ、そういえば今日は神社で町会の人たちが集まって飲むとか言ってたな。それはご愁傷様でした。傷は大丈夫ですか？
ちょっとズキズキしますね。多分アルコールのせいだと思います。
そうだ、お連れの刑事さんが連絡が欲しいと言ってましたよ。
いけない。大石さんを待たせてたんだった。
I glanced at the clock. No matter how you looked at it, it was way too late to call him now. I'll apologize to him tomorrow over the phone, assuming that, I can find one that isn't cut. I returned to my hospital room and slipped into the bed that was still unmade from the time I went outside. Oh, that's no good. I have to turn off the lights. But my weariness had cut the cord powering my body, lulling me into a deep sleep. Cut the cord like the phone? Gotta make sure you remember that one. Oh wow, that was a quick one. Normally these are like an hour and a half. Although I guess with the tips it could kind of get up to that point. Alright. Prophecy at the beginning. So we've got 3 mothers' diaries, it looks like. There was something I didn't like about my child. I first realized it when I started writing these things down. They never warn you about it in any books about raising children. But they aren't just a plaything. If they aren't able to feel loved even when they're not doing exactly as their parents want them to, then those parents are failures. This wasn't something like that, though. How can I say it? It's probably harder to express with mere words. I just want my child to be average. As long as they weren't falling behind, there wasn't any need for them to excel at something. As long as they acted appropriately for their age, I would have been fine with it. But my child had been different ever since kindergarten. While the children in her class were running around in excitement about the field trip the next day, she only wore a bored look on her face, aloof and distant. This kind of sounds like Rosa and Maria, doesn't it? Just a little bit. When the other kids broke the equipment for the athletic festival and were apologizing fervently, she only wore a bored look on her face, aloof and distant. When the teacher was reading a fun picture book, only she wasn't smiling. Even if they all got to eat a delicious bento, only she wasn't happy. If it was only this, it would still be the realm of understanding. However, what I don't understand about my child is that if the aforementioned situations happened again, they'd now act in a manner befitting their age. I don't understand the principle behind that, as a parent. Why were they indifferent about that field trip, but happy about this one? Why were they indifferent about that picture book, but happy about this one? Why were they indifferent about that bento, but happy about this one? The former and the latter in each situation seem exactly the same to me. There was even times when I thought the former one was better. I don't understand that child's feelings. During parent-teacher meetings, the teacher always says the same thing. And I would always respond that I don't understand my own child, and we would mope together. My husband, always the optimist, once said that a young child's feelings are different from an adult's. So if there were some things we didn't understand, we shouldn't worry about it. I lament his lack of urgency. One day when I was in a good mood, I took the effort to prepare a menu that my child would enjoy. But she only smiled with a big expression of disinterest. That attitude frankly made me angry, so I hit her on the head. That's just like Rosa and Maria. On a day when the weather was nice, the laundry I had just hung up to dry was blown by a large gust of wind, causing the entire line to fall down. But she, watching me trying to pick up the laundry in a panic, stood there laughing. That attitude frankly made me angry, so I hit her on the head. I think the same sort of thing happened countless times. Before I knew it, my child was only able to look at me with an indifferent expression on her face. It might be all the brain damage from you hitting her on the head. I regret the fact that I've been a bad mother. Thinking that I should regain her trust, I thought to get it back little by little with some light interactions. Seeing her do some sort of craft work on the veranda, I called out to her.
ここ数日、気持ちのいい
Oh, it's
晴
Rika's
れの
mom.
日が続いて、気分がいいわね。
That child, with that indifferent look on her face I hated so much, looked up at me for a moment. Then, without a word, returned to immersing herself in her craft work. Up until now, I would have hit her on the head just for that. I held myself back.
何を作ってるの？お人形さん？てるてる坊主。
That child was using inserts from the newspaper to deftly make some weather charms. The forecast hadn't called for rain. But that child in her own way was praying that these sunny days would continue. Being able to understand my own child for the first time in a while, I couldn't hide my own happiness. Bringing out a ball of yarn, I began to hang my child's cute weather charms from the eaves of the house.
ダメよ、リカ。頭が重すぎるから。ほら、逆さてるてる坊主になっちゃったわ。これじゃ、晴れじゃなくて、雨になっちゃうわよ。
When I started to take them down, my child tugged at the hem of my shirt as if to stop me.
逆さになるように作ったのだから、それでいいの。でもリカ、てるてる坊主が逆さじゃ、晴れのおまじないにならないわよ。雨が降るようにおまじないをしているから、それでいいの。
I desperately suppressed the emotions welling up inside of me. Whoops.
そっか。
I was trying
お
desperately
庭
to
の朝顔
understand.
が晴れ続きで元気がなくなっちゃったから、
Stop talking.
雨が欲しい
Stop
の。
talking! Trying desperately to understand my child. The child turned to me with the expression that I hated the most.
晴れにね。飽きたの。
I don't understand. I don't understand. I just can't understand that child. Come on, do it. Hit her on the head again. Do it. I don't get it. I hit my child on the head all the time and she just wants gloomy things. I know, I'll hit her on the head again. That'll fix it. Let's read some more diary. During the family council, she buried herself under Oryu-san's futon again. Oryu-san dotes on her unwaveringly. No matter what insolence my child commits, she doesn't mind. It's almost as though my child is a kitten or something. Oryu dotes on her exactly as you would with a kitten. As her mother, I chided her for doing that. Until Oryu-san had said 3 times that it was fine, I chided her as a formality. Of course, she never lends an ear to any of my chidings. Knowing that Oryu-san's standing was far above mine, she behaves like that. I don't like the cunningness that's unbefitting of her age either. In any case, not only Oryu-san, but the rest of the old folk in the village spoil her too much. One day I was surprised. By chance, on the way back from some shopping, I saw her by herself just outside a candy shop. My own child suddenly grabbed a snack, opened the package right there and then, and started eating it. She didn't make any attempt to pay for it, and she didn't even think of looking around. It didn't even feel like she was shoplifting, more like she was brazenly eating snacks that were offered to her. When I began to admonish my child, the elderly shop owner appeared and covered for her. The owner gave the ridiculous excuse that he said it was okay for that child to eat any of the snacks out by the entrance, so it was fine. When I tried to pay for the snacks that my child had eaten, the owner refused my money. During that exchange, more old folks had suddenly gathered around, and it began to feel like I was the one in the wrong. The elderly people all put their hands together reverently in front of my child, and repeatedly voiced their respects. I was born into the Frude family, so it wasn't like I didn't know why she was being treated specially. When I was still young, it was something I heard often from my grandmother. If by chance the child that I gave birth to was a girl, that child would be the living incarnation of Oyashiro-sama. All the older folk believe she's the living incarnation of Oyashiro-sama, and spoil her rotten. And not only did they spoil her, but they even told her she was the living incarnation of Oyashiro-sama. That she had a divine power, and threw all sorts of strange folk tales her way. So she may have begun to believe herself that she was a special existence. I went around and told everyone that it wasn't good for her upbringing, so to stop telling her all these strange things. But there was no uprooting the elderly people's deep-seated superstitions. I told my child not to listen to them, but it ended up being that she stopped listening to me. Between all the old folks in the village who would dote on her, and myself who only scolded her, there was no wonder who she would listen to. There was no mistaking that the reason she had become strange was because of the elderly villagers. There was no doubt that they had shoved her full of strange folk tales and superstitions since she was young. If it wasn't for that, there was no doubt my child would have been cute and normal. Man, she really hates this kid, doesn't she? Alright, last one here. One sunny parent-teacher day, there was a cooking class, and my child was making curry rice with a practiced hand. While the other children her age were awkwardly using their kitchen knives, that child was wielding hers deftly. The teacher approached me with a smile on their face, saying it must be a result of learning it at home. I managed to play it off with a vague smile and a nod in response. That was because I'd never once taught my child how to make curry rice. Even then, she was peeling vegetables with a practiced hand, adding them into the pot in the order of which took longer to cook. For a normal parent, they might unintentionally clap their hands together, happy at their child's actions. But you forget, I hate my child. In my case, it was different. There was no mistaking that somebody had taught her how to make that curry rice when I wasn't taking care of her. Thinking that, I quietly fell into an unpleasant mood. Better get the beaten hand ready. Smack her on the head again. When I asked, it seemed she could also sew and do the laundry. I'd never taught her how to do those, and again, never saw her do it around the house. Be it cooking, or sewing, or the laundry. Again, that was probably because the elderly villagers taught her all sorts of rubbish when I wasn't looking. Yeah, she can't learn how to cook. And not only that, they probably taught her all sorts of strange superstitions, trying to prop her up as the living incarnation of Oyashiro-sama. I said as much to my husband, suggesting that we should keep our child away from the elderly folk. But my husband, who was in the position of being the head priest of the Furude Shrine, had little power against the elderly who supported it. He took the rather uncommitted stance of saying that as long as she was being doted upon, wasn't it fine? I argued against that. That she was our child and should be a completely normal girl. That what the elderly were expecting, that she was the living incarnation of Oyashiro-sama, was simply odd. The elderly villagers believed that child has divine powers. We would discuss the weather for the following day, but there were many times when I left the house without an umbrella and came back soaking wet. Rather than having clairvoyance, that was just secondhand knowledge from her watching the news all the time. Things that she knew that she shouldn't have known were just a result of people who were trying to indoctrinate her and the people who were gossiping getting together in the village. However, there certainly were days when everyone thought it was going to be sunny all day, and that child would stubbornly not go out without an umbrella. It would occasionally rain, and in the end we would be saved. There might have also been times where Rika knew of major accidents in foreign countries faster than the news did. I thought that she must have heard it break over the radio or something. Knowing things she shouldn't have. Something like that. Was in front of me right now, wasn't it? That child was making curry rice when there shouldn't have been anybody who taught her how to. No, that couldn't possibly be the case. Somebody had taught her, indoctrinated her. And when I wasn't taking care of her, somebody had indoctrinated Rika with something. Well, you would say that, wouldn't you?
先生、花丸をあげちゃいます。ニパー。フルデさんはお料理を誰に習いましたか？やっぱりお家で？はい、お家なのですよ。
The other parents in attendance were impressed. Lies, all lies. I didn't teach her anything. Who was it? Who was the person who'd completely indoctrinated my child? She was my normal average daughter, not the living incarnation of Oyashiro-sama. Man, you really hate your kid, don't you? Who taught her how to cook? I'll teach you a lesson. Alright, we'll leave it off there. It does seem like Akasaka might actually be able to get out of this one alive. Maybe. Like, he had plenty of chances to get off last night, and he didn't. So maybe he's gonna be okay. And maybe he should get out of the village before anyone conveys to him that one guy died, the foreman. Because if he doesn't, then he's probably gonna get stuck there, and then something bad's gonna happen to him. That's what I'm thinking. But anyway, hope you guys all enjoyed, and I'll see you next time for some more Higurashi. Bye!